Hello and welcome. Here we explore ideas, stories, and perspectives that help us better understand the world around us. Today we are taking a deep dive into, well, the underlying architecture of modern life. Social media algorithms. We're not just looking at content moderation, we're going to try and dissect the core mechanism. The one linking corporate profit, neurological addiction, and the power dynamics of our society.
That's right. And our mission today is really to move past the headlines and unpack how these engagement-based algorithms are structurally designed. We need to analyze the profound negative costs, which, they fall squarely into three domains: our own personal psychology and addiction,
Right.
our mental health, and then the destabilization of, frankly, democratic processes through this massive polarization. It's a powerful trio: addiction, profit, and power.
And what makes this dive so crucial is how current the evidence is. We're drawing on studies from just the last couple of years, 2023 through 2025, across communications, neuroscience, political science. Look at all the big ones: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, TikTok. So let's start where every major digital corporation starts: the profit engine.
Let's call it the institutionalized attention economy. The moment a platform has to decide what to show you next, it makes a choice. And that choice is to prioritize what researchers call revealed preferences.
Revealed preferences. I've heard that term. That's a fancy way of saying what I actually do online, isn't it? Like clicking the like button on a hot take instead of, reading that long policy article I saved.
Exactly. It's the data from your clicks, your shares, your instantaneous dwell time, all those quick impulsive actions. The algorithms are optimized entirely for maximizing these things because they're so easy to measure and, well, highly monetizable.
Which means they completely ignore our stated preferences, what we actually say we want to see.
Precisely. Stated preferences are what you might tell a researcher you value when you're thinking calmly. Things like educational content, diverse perspectives, nuanced discussions. But the studies consistently show that the content people engage with most is absolutely not the content they say they value later on. And that misalignment, that gap, that's where the business model lives. It exploits our impulses.
And exploiting that impulse is, it's extraordinarily lucrative. The whole attention economy turns our attention into currency.
It's massive and it's incredibly centralized. The global digital ad market is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And you have giants like Alphabet and Meta just capturing more than half of all that spending. They are financially rewarded for grabbing as much of your attention as they can.
So this financial pressure means that when profit goals clash with user safety, profit pretty much always wins. This is the core of that profit over safety criticism we hear so much about.
Whistleblower testimony has given us detailed proof of this. It's an internal corporate calculus. For instance, a platform's own internal research showed it is much, much easier to inspire people to anger than to other emotions.
Anger is just more engaging.
It drives massive interaction rates. More comments, more shares, you stay on the post longer. So outrage becomes the more profitable choice. The very architecture rewards it.
There's hard data on the consequences of this, especially around really sensitive times.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the 2020 U.S. election. For a short time, the platforms knew things were dangerous, so they turned on their safety systems to reduce virality. But according to the sources, the moment the election was over, they turned them right back off to prioritize growth metrics again. So the priority wasn't ongoing safety, it was hitting their growth targets.
That is horrifying. It really speaks to how these recommendation systems work by default, doesn't it?
It does. Internal documents revealed that a stunning 64% of users who joined extremist groups on one platform did so because the platform's own tools pointed them there.
Wow, 64%.
The system is designed to connect people with common interests. If that interest is based on easily amplified outrage, the system just puts its foot on the gas.
It's clear this whole commercial logic just reshapes what kind of content can even exist.
It creates a consumption trap. It's real. Short video platforms, for example, they have to prioritize emotionally stimulating, low cognitive cost content, stuff you don't have to think about. So high cognitive cost content, like a deep discussion on public policy, just gets marginalized. It can't compete. And then they layer on these commercial tricks, exploiting scarcity, low stock, limited edition, or features like watch and buy, to just undermine your rational judgment and get you to impulse buy.
So if the profit motive is the fuel, then our own brain is the target. Let's shift from the wallet to the neurobiological cost. This brings us right into addiction and mental health.
And social media addiction is now widely recognized as a behavioral addiction. It's defined by an uncontrollable urge to use the platform, which leads to real, measurable negative consequences. Conflict in your life, withdrawal symptoms if you can't get to it.
So when neuroscientists make that comparison, that checking your feed is like injecting dopamine, are they being literal? Is it chemically similar to something like gambling?
That is the comparison they make. It triggers the brain's primary reward system, the mesolimbic system, the dopamine pathways. Some neuroscientists describe getting a like or a notification as being akin to a syringe of dopamine being injected straight into the system. It is a powerful, immediate hit.
That fentanyl analogy I saw in one of the sources is just jarring. But what is it about the variability of the reward that makes it so potent?
That variable reward schedule is the key. You never know when the next notification will arrive, right? And that unpredictability is what maximizes the dopamine release. It keeps you searching, refreshing, dependent. One commentator, they didn't mince words. They called the AI algorithms the fentanyl being added to the digital heroin of social media. It just accelerates addiction, especially in teenagers.
And this prolonged compulsive use isn't just a bad habit. It actually physically changes our brains, especially young developing brains.
It absolutely does. Your brain physically adapts to the scroll. Studies are now showing a decrease in gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
That's the impulse control center, the part that's supposed to say stop scrolling now.
The part that tells you to stop, to manage your time, to regulate your decisions. When that volume decreases, those abilities literally get weaker.
So it's physically harder to stop, not just that you don't want to. The mechanism for stopping is actually impaired.
Precisely. And on the flip side, you see increased gray matter volume in the nucleus accumbens, the reward center. So your brain becomes more focused on digital rewards. But here's the irony. It can lead to reduced reward sensitivity overall. This is a classic hallmark of addiction. Users start finding less pleasure in natural, real-world rewards, things outside the digital feedback loop.
Beyond the brain structure, I think we've all felt that pit in our stomach from doom scrolling late at night. It feels impossible to look away, even when you know it's making you anxious. How is the algorithm using that anxiety?
The algorithms lock you into negative feedback loops. By amplifying sensational or emotionally stimulating content, fear, anger, tragedy, they encourage doom scrolling.
Yeah.
You compulsively cycle through bad news, which reinforces anxiety and fear, which, ironically, increases your engagement, and so you feed the algorithm.
And on top of that, there's the pressure to keep up with everyone else's perfect, curated life.
That's comparison culture. It's almost unavoidable. The curated feeds foster envy, lower self-esteem, is often called Facebook depression.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly comparing your messy, real self to the filtered, idealized online versions of others. And that's compounded by FOMO, the fear of missing out, which directly ties heaviest social media use to a higher risk of anxiety, depression, and loneliness.
It's pretty disturbing to realize the profit model is literally exploiting our biology to undermine our mental health. But the effects don't stop with the individual, do they? What happens when billions of people are manipulated this way?
And that brings us straight to part 3, polarization and manipulation. The same personalization systems that are so good at analyzing your behavior, well, they inevitably reinforce your existing beliefs. They create ideological isolation. We call it the echo chamber effect.
What's the key distinction there between a filter bubble and an echo chamber? It feels subtle.
It is, but it's important. A filter bubble just limits your exposure to different views. The algorithm filters them out. You just don't see them. An echo chamber is more active. It surrounds you with like-minded people who are constantly sharing and reinforcing your existing beliefs. It intensifies them through repetition and validation.
But do the algorithms actually choose hostility? Or is it just that nuanced content is less engaging, so it gets drowned out by default?
The sources show it's both, but that the algorithmic amplification is the primary driver. It's an active choice. An audit of major platforms showed that engagement-based ranking significantly amplifies content with greater partisanship and outgroup animosity. It literally makes you feel worse about your political opponents.
And this is where that truly staggering number comes in about how quickly our attitudes can be shifted.
Yes, this one piece of research used a re-ranking tool to temporarily change the algorithm for users. They found that in a single week, they could shift users' negative feelings toward the opposing political party by an amount that would normally take 3 years of natural exposure.
Wait, say that again. 3 years of change in a week?
In a single week. It just shows you the immense hidden power these systems have to accelerate political hostility.
So if you're a content creator, or a bad actor, you know exactly what kind of language to use to maximize your reach.
You absolutely do. The research shows that using outgroup language increases the odds of a post being shared by 67%.
Hmm.
And since engagement is king, the algorithm doesn't care about truth. False news spreads 6 times faster than true news because it's just more novel and emotionally engaging. This makes social media a key arena for information warfare.
We hear a lot about algorithms leading people down these extremist rabbit holes. How does that work exactly?
It's generally 2 pathways. The first is introduction. The system might introduce a vulnerable person to extremist propaganda, but the more common path is reinforcement. It strengthens radical attitudes that are already there through a self-reinforcing cycle. And while platforms have gotten better at hiding overt extremism, the core engagement design can still accelerate that path and strengthen those in-group bonds for people who are already looking for it. And that can lead to real-world coordination, like we saw in the planning for events like January 6th.
So we've got a system that's profitable because it's addictive, and it's socially destabilizing because it maximizes outrage. Given all this, how do we even begin to move toward a better design?
The data really forces one conclusion. If these companies won't change, we have to structurally separate their profit goals from our well-being. And that requires transparency and accountability. We need to make these algorithms understandable, auditable, what researchers are calling algorithmic transparency.
And it means bringing back those stated preferences we talked about at the beginning, giving users a real choice.
Exactly. We need a greater integration of what you say you want into the ranking. If you tell a platform, I want to see less outrage, the system should be designed to respect that, not override it for a higher click rate. Studies suggest this kind of alternative approach could seriously decrease the amount of emotionally charged, divisive content.
Are there practical steps platforms could take right now to help us regain some of that control?
Definitely. Integrating features that proactively help you take a break, or offering settings where you can granularly select or skip certain kinds of content. It shifts the power dynamic from the platform dictating everything to the user exercising some cognitive control.
But at the end of the day, we can't just wait for the corporations to fix themselves. The user has to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. The importance of what's called algorithmic literacy cannot be overstated. This is the ability to understand how these automated systems work, to identify their biases, to analyze their effects, to ask, why am I seeing this post right now? It's about empowering everyone, especially young people, to become co-creators of ethical norms, not just passive recipients of an optimized feed.
This has been a really eye-opening dive. The core mechanism is, in a way, brutally simple. The profit motive drives engagement. That engagement exploits and rewires our brain's reward system, which leads to addiction. And that very same architecture amplifies outrage and falsehoods, which in turn destabilizes public discourse.
And the fundamental battle here is ultimately over cognitive autonomy. These algorithms are now structurally shaping our perception of the ideal life, our emotional landscape, our political reality. So the most critical frontier is ensuring these systems serve us rather than just commodify us. We have to constantly question what or who is defining what we see as meaningful.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might find it meaningful. Your support helps keep this project alive. Take care, stay curious. Jet. I'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye.